Hello folks, Reverend Cox here. I'm going to talk to you about the beautiful gift of graduation that we get, otherwise known as death. Okay, some say that life is winter and death is spring. I tend to believe that. Not to sound negative, I love life, earth life is beautiful. But I do remember not living here. I've never quite been satisfied with being in this body. I am grateful and appreciative, but I find life on earth limiting and a bit dull. So I know those of you who think that's a little out there, but isn't everything I say? So I've never really feared death. I've always been ready to die. I've always been ready to have my job done here and go home. However, with that, I am very connected to the Great Spirit. I have always been connected to Spirit in some way or another. Therefore, I have always known that I am here to do a job. I am here to clear karma. I am here on a mission. I am here to help others. I am here to do spiritual work. I am here to help raise the vibration of Mother Earth and her people. And on top of that, I have the challenge of getting to know myself, dealing with my human body, my nervous system, my emotions, my blood sugar, my woo. Sorry, that's me and my blood sugar. This is me with hyper blood sugar. Okay, the point is this human vehicle is, you know, it's a little bit frustrating at times. I'm very much so more into life without my human vehicle. So, on that note, it's just kind of a prerequisite to tell you that I'm not really afraid of death, okay? Doesn't mean that I want to die. I love life. Most of the women in my family, on my mother's side of the family, have died around 60, early mid-60s. My father's side in the 80s. So who knows how long I'll live. I'm not saying that I want to die. Death is a graduation. Death is kind of a prize. It's your certificate. When you cross over, you get, you know, like another badge of color. You have your relatives and your family, and, you know, by relatives and family, I mean relatives that were your blood relative here on earth, and family as in your spiritual family that are family on the other side and that have been family in different lifetimes. And it's a welcome home, it's a celebration, it's wonderful, you know, I've done it, I've graduated. It's kind of like we're here, you know, at college. And I know that whatever I do here and clear up here, that it's an incredible lesson. And sometimes I think, you know, I'm here to inspire people, I'm here to teach people. I'm also here to be, you know, alone, to be lonely, to do my mission alone, to be solitary, to be, to help people heal their bodies, their souls, their minds, and also in a big, huge way to know thyself. So clearing up past karma by running across people that I clear that up with, by neutralizing old programs in myself. And when I do the spiritual work that I do it for every lifetime I've ever lived. And I do it, you know, with the people that I may have caused some sort of karma with, I clear up for that whole time too. So I'm really here this time around for a lot of work and a lot of solitary work, and it's lonely work. I'm very much in contact with Spirit on this work, and I know what it is that I'm supposed to do. So I really have no fear about what it will be like to die. Dying is just going to sleep. I mean, if you're in a bad accident or something, you leave your body before you experience that kind of pain. I don't think death is that traumatic. Life is really hard, you know, even when life is good, and I don't mean to sound negative, but, you know, it's hard. It's challenging to be a human being. It's challenging to love, you know, love each other, love your kids, watch human suffering, you know, have emotions. It's hard. And when you cross over, you don't have that anymore, you know. And so, but also, you know, if you leave early or by your own hands, or, you know, something happens and you don't get your stuff done, you got to come back and do it again. So You might as well not have to go through your, your 20s again, your 30s, and just, get this stuff done in this lifetime. So on that note, I want to read to you a little bit about death from the book, Summoning the Fates, because I think it's rather interesting and it really feels kind of kin to me, It talks about a little bit about astrology and stuff like that. I believe that our time of death is kind of predestined. I never used to believe that, but it's also different choices. And this book talks about, almost like 50% my choice, 50% fate. And by fate, I mean up to these 3 women, the charge your fate. Charge of your fate. Charge your fate. Okay. The Budapest, Summoning the Fates. Okay, you ready? A special gift. Once upon a time, yes, I said that. In the elder age of Greece, before the fall of Troy, an age when the great goddess still reigned supreme, 3 novice priestesses came to a remote cavern in the wind-swept mountainside to pay their respect to the Fates and to bring their first offering to the old ones. As they entered the cave's somber depths, they bore baskets of red apples, knowing that the gray ones relished red foods, for red is potent with life-giving magic. When they came to the altar, they found it veiled in mystery by the steamy breath of the goddess's underground waters. They were full of fearful awe. Fervently, they began chanting their prayer. Dearest Fates, oldest of the old, you who birth us in hope, you who wisely measure the threads of our lives, you who mercifully lay us out, give us the best fate ever. With this they spread out their sheepskin and prepared to sleep the night cradled in the critic's womb. At dawn, the aged priestess, who was the keeper of the shrine, wondered why the playful young ones did not emerge laughing and singing. As she braved the gloom, grim thoughts crowded closer with every step. When she came to the altar, she sank to her knees in horror. The soulless bodies of the 3 priestesses lay like discarded rags upon the stones, their empty eyes gazing out peacefully on the best fate known to woman or man, death. So you see, they wished for the best possible fate. And if the best possible fate is a natural, peaceful death, that's what they got. Careful what you wish for, right? We shall all share the same fate in the end. The story comes to us as an explanation of how the Fates view death. It is quite the opposite of the Christian view. The wages of sin is death, they drone. Excuse me, the wages of life is death. We all die, even the saints. In fact, the good often die young. So what does that mean? I see everybody, priest and sinner, woman and men, all come obediently to the gardens of Skald. Death is the one side. Death is the other side of the same door. One side says enter, and the other says exit. Western culture fears death. We do many things to avoid it because there are doors between the worlds of the dead and the living. Some people like to visit back and forth. Some never go near them. North Americans rarely visit their dead in the cemetery. Western culture is not only afraid of death, but also of the dead themselves. Our horror movies show how we dread decomposing bodies, how we fear the other side. We must make entertainment out of it in order to think about it at all. Asians, on the other hand, usually believe in the reincarnation of souls. In other words, the bodies may die, but the spirits are free to come back. And so it's very different in their part of the cemetery. In the Asian and Latino cemetery areas, the family comes out on holidays. They leave Christmas trees and poinsettias for the children, always windmills and different toys. Sometimes they leave pumpkins on Halloween, and of course birthdays are remembered with fresh flowers. The Asian and Latinos' grave sites are tended to much better than the Anglo ones. It is because of the difference in philosophy, not because white people don't love their dead. They just love them with fear, and not in the cemetery. Asian people see the cemetery as just one of the meeting points, a quiet place to visit. I love that. I love going to the grave and visiting my ancestors and other ancestors. I've, in different real estate deals and different transitions in my life, I have went to the graves in order to speak with those who have crossed over. It's just kind of a point. It's not like you can't talk to them anywhere, but it's a point to talk to them. Death delivers us from pain. When our bodies no longer work as they once did, and it brings us peace unutterably, as the ancient prayer promises. But it's another story when you try to imagine what happens on the earthly side, how the world you knew will change, how your relatives will forget you, and how if you were buried in the unendowed section in 100 years or even less, the graveyard director may order the dirt to be turned over to make room for the new dead, for even the grave is not forever. Even it changes, dies, and gives away to the new. The fates and the mystery of death. Again, I really recommend you guys read this book. According to astrology, in our birth charts, there are several death nodes. These nodes are near the changing of the fates. When we, from Urid to Verndadi, URDH to Verndadi, VERDA and DI, or from Verdadi to Skuld. Now these are like beginning, middle, end of your life. So, the creator, the weaver, the spinner, the cutter. These are points at which we can choose to make an exit or hang in there. If we struggle through, we can proceed to the next node until one of them takes us down. My own mother departed when she reached her second death node. The nodes are different for each person, and then of course there are accidents. Death can come in many forms. The date of your death is included in your birth date. The number of heartbeats you will have has already been measured to you. The measurers, the morae, which is the fates, establish this at your birth. Okay, it says oftentimes your fate coincides with the Saturn returns. So you have fate, but you also have choice. It's kind of a hard concept. It's just really interesting stuff, and it talks about Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and and then Joan of Arc. She was dead at 19. Her entire destiny had played out in 5 years between the time she left the French countryside and when she was burned to death as a witch, having helped to win independence for her country. If the church had not burned her, she might have been forgotten, despite her deeds, but because she was martyred, she became the patron saint of France. Okay. Skuld, which is the one takes you to death, is kind and caring to all murdered bodies and departing souls. Once people are dead, Skuld leads them gently home. Often the soul is given the choice of returning or checking out now. So you've heard those things, people go to the light or whatever, and they kind of have a choice of coming back. So it's like, am I done here? I want to come back. Well, if you kind of get faced with this choice, coming back is, well, maybe it's not always best, but I think it's always best, because in that you get to clear your karma, while you're here. The next time you can have a totally different life. Okay, fates respectively, by being allowed the last choice. Do bad people go to hell? We wish. The angel offers an opportunity for self-judgment. The soul weeps for its evil doings. Hell is within. The inner reality travels with you wherever you are. The mythology of the faith tells us about the river where we drink the waters of life and forgetfulness. We become part of the fertile past, and as such we nourish all the living. But when we have rested and healed, our souls may wake up and develop a desire to live again. I'll read you some more of this soon, but I wanted to talk to you just a second about hell. They tell you all the stuff that you have heard about hell. Well, hell is within. Okay? So, basically, you do bad things and you go to hell. Yeah. Okay. So you're doing all these horrible, bad, tormenting things, and you cross over, you are judging yourself. So you know how you might do something bad or weird, or maybe you're cheating on a spouse, or I'm not saying that's bad, I'm saying you feel that's bad. But the guilt that you feel when you've done something that you feel is bad, or that society's told you that's bad, and the guilt kind of eats you up. It's kind of like the Christmas carols. These chains you're carrying around. That's hell. in this explanation of hell, of like when we cross over, we are judging ourselves. We are so tormented by what we did, we are in hell. Okay, so we get a chance to come back and try to make it right and be better. Okay, and clear that karma. But the hell being our own creation. Okay, the art of dying. The dying often see through the veil between life and death. When my mother was just a few days from her death, she saw faces floating by, curiously checking her out, some smiling, some watching. She believed that they were the guardians from the other side, keeping an eye on her. If you've ever been around anybody with hospice or people who've taken care of their grandparents or parents, you know that they see their people come to see them come before they die. Okay, so they're seeing through the veil, they're seeing them, they're talking to them, you know, they're waving at them, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're losing it. So you go get them drugs and weird stuff, and people do the craziest things. This talks about, well, reading a book by this Elizabeth Kubler Ross and others that recount near-death experiences. Imagine yourself going through the process until it no longer seems frightening, you know, so that you won't be afraid of death. As I said earlier, I've just never been afraid of death. I mean, when I sleep, I travel around without my body. I mean, if I didn't wake up, I would have just went to sleep. I mean, death is sad for the living, but come on, I mean, it's kind of selfish to be sad when someone's liberated and free. Sorry. Sorry if makes some of you mad. If you have the privilege of assisting at the passing of a friend or loved one, there are a number of things you can do. Make the environment positive by keeping a lot of fresh flowers in the room. The custom of giving flowers to the sick comes from early burial practices. Flowers represent the goddess as the life force. Flowers give spiritual energy to the dying. If you know what kind of music the dying person likes, play that. In Tibetan tradition, passages from the Book of the Dead are read to remind the soul of what will need to be done. Others may prefer to read psalms or poems. Even if someone's in a coma, odds are they can still hear you. Talk quietly about the good times you shared and calmly come to closure on any issues that remain. Always stay positive. Even if you have to do it without apparent response, okay, of clearing these issues. Forgive and let go. When death is imminent, focus your thoughts in loving, supportive energy. There are also things you should not do. When a person is dying, do not stage big scenes in the room with outward displays of grief and sobbing and other dramatics. Avoid anything that produces fear and hooks the dying person into trying to hold on. Say goodbye serenely, without fear. Hold the person's hand or kiss her, and whatever you do, don't scream, "Don't leave me," unless you want to create a ghost. Then it talks about one of her experiences, and just letting go and going home to the goddess. And when your work is done, just let it happen. So don't fear death. Do what you can here right now to clear karma and to clear energies so that you don't have to go to hell. Hell being the torment of your own mind, judging yourself. And yeah, we take our mind with us. Think we got a brain, we got a mind, we got a soul, we got a thought. I can think when I'm dreaming. Am I thinking with my mind, or am I thinking with my brain? Okay? I believe that this carcass will fade away, and what I know to be me will cross over with me. Anyway, thanks for listening. Get this book and read it. God bless you.